In 1945, the United States emerged from World War II as the most powerful nation on Earth. It had the strongest economy, the largest military, and the most devastating weapon ever created. Americans believed the war was over and that they had won. What almost no one knew was that, at that exact moment, the Soviet Union already knew many of America's deepest secrets. Not because they guessed them, not because they stole them from the outside, but because Americans themselves were secretly handing them over. And the most shocking part? The United States knew this was happening, but chose to stay silent for decades. Hidden inside an unmarked building in Virginia, a small group of analysts was reading Soviet messages that were never meant to be read, uncovering a level of betrayal that could have torn the country apart if revealed too soon. This was Project VENONA, the secret operation that proved the Cold War didn't begin after World War II. It began before the war was even over. Picture this. It's 1943. The world is on fire. Europe is drowning in blood. The Pacific is exploding island by island, and tens of millions are already dead. The United States is fully mobilized. Factories running day and night, soldiers crossing oceans, the future of civilization hanging by a thread. And yet, far from the front lines, far from Normandy and Stalingrad, inside an unremarkable brick building in Arlington, Virginia, a small group of Americans is fighting a war no one knows exists. No guns, no uniforms, no medals. Just desks, pencils, paper, and endless strings of numbers that seem completely meaningless. But those numbers are not random. They are messages. Soviet messages sent directly between Moscow and spies operating inside the United States itself. And here is the most unsettling part. The president does not know this operation exists. Congress does not know. The public certainly does not know. For nearly half a century, the most important counterintelligence operation in American history will remain buried in silence, rewriting the story of the Cold War without anyone realizing it. When America entered World War II after Pearl Harbor, it did so with urgency and fear. The country needed allies and fast. That reality produced one of the most uncomfortable alliances in modern history: the United States and Joseph Stalin's Soviet Union. Stalin was already responsible for purges, labor camps, and the deaths of millions of his own citizens, but Hitler represented a more immediate threat. So Washington made a deal. Weapons, trucks, aircraft, food, and industrial equipment flowed east under Lend-Lease. Along with that aid came something even more valuable: trust. American officials assumed that because the Soviets were allies in war, they would act like partners afterward. That assumption was catastrophically wrong. Stalin was not thinking only about defeating Hitler. He was thinking about the world that would exist when the war ended, about who would control Europe, who would shape governments, borders, and economies. To win that future, he needed intelligence. Not rumors, not speculation. He needed direct access to American secrets. Soviet intelligence did not rely on Hollywood-style spies sneaking across borders. Instead, it recruited Americans, educated people, scientists, engineers, lawyers, diplomats. Many had been radicalized by the Great Depression, disillusioned with capitalism, or genuinely convinced that communism represented humanity's future. They did not see themselves as traitors. They believed they were serving a higher cause. And most importantly, they had access. They worked inside the State Department, the War Department, the Treasury, military research facilities, and even America's own intelligence services. Secrets were not stolen from the outside. They were handed over from the inside. For years, American counterintelligence had suspicions, rumors, and scattered warnings, but no proof solid enough to dismantle the networks. In 1943, an American traffic analyst named Cecil Phillips was studying Soviet communications patterns, not trying to break codes, simply observing frequency, timing, and repetition. Slowly, something impossible appeared. Some Soviet messages seemed to be encrypted using the same key more than once. That should not have happened. Soviet encryption relied on one-time pads, a method considered mathematically unbreakable if used correctly. But under wartime pressure, mistakes were made. Phillips reported what he found, and the report reached Gene Grabiel, a brilliant cryptanalyst who immediately understood the implications. If the Soviets had reused encryption material even partially, then their supposedly unbreakable system had a crack. What followed was not a sudden breakthrough, but a grind that lasted years. Mathematicians, linguists, and analysts stared at numbers day after day, stripping away layers of code fragment by fragment. Progress was agonizingly slow. A word here, a phrase there, but by the mid-1940s, entire sentences began to emerge. In 1946, one decrypted message changed everything. It referenced American scientists working on the atomic bomb. Moscow knew details it should never have known. That meant only one thing. There was a spy inside the Manhattan Project. From that moment on, Project VENONA stopped being theoretical. It became personal. The messages revealed code names tied to real people living ordinary lives across the United States. One of the most shocking names connected to the decrypts was Alger Hiss. Hiss was a respected State Department official, a Harvard-educated lawyer, present at the founding of the United Nations, trusted at the highest levels of government. Publicly, he denied all accusations of espionage. Privately, VENONA confirmed that Soviet intelligence considered him one of their assets. Yet the VENONA team could not reveal this. Exposing the decrypts would alert Moscow and end the project overnight. So the truth remained classified while public trials played out with incomplete evidence, fueling controversy and division. Even more explosive were the revelations tied to the atomic bomb itself. VENONA showed that Soviet intelligence had penetrated America's most secret program. At the center of this network was Julius Rosenberg, an electrical engineer recruited into espionage who specialized not in stealing secrets personally, but in recruiting others who could. Scientists, technicians, and engineers who handled sensitive information every day without fully understanding its strategic value. Ethel Rosenberg's role remains debated, but Soviet cables left little doubt that Julius was a central figure in transmitting atomic intelligence to Moscow. The scale of the operation was staggering. This was not one spy or two. It was a network that reached deep into America's scientific and industrial heart. Perhaps the most disturbing discovery of all came when VENONA decrypts revealed Soviet sources inside America's own intelligence apparatus. The Office of Strategic Services, the wartime predecessor to the CIA, had been young, idealistic, and politically inexperienced. Soviet intelligence exploited that weakness, identifying ideological sympathizers and placing them where access mattered most. Some passed reports, others revealed American assessments of Soviet intentions. A few helped Moscow understand how American intelligence itself operated. This was espionage at a higher level, intelligence about intelligence. And still, the VENONA team said nothing publicly. Not because they were indifferent, but because they understood the stakes. The moment the Soviets realized their codes were compromised, the entire advantage would vanish. So the United States made a calculated and deeply uncomfortable decision. It allowed some spies to remain active, carefully monitored, while VENONA continued to read deeper into the Soviet system. This restraint angered politicians and investigators, but it preserved the single greatest intelligence advantage America achieved during the Cold War. As the war ended and global tensions hardened, VENONA quietly reshaped American counterintelligence. Background checks tightened, access protocols changed. Agencies learned to cooperate rather than compete. At the same time, the American public entered one of its most divisive eras. Congressional hearings dominated headlines. Careers were destroyed. Senator Joseph McCarthy became the public face of anti-communist investigations. VENONA confirmed that Soviet infiltration was real, but it also showed how easily fear could outrun facts. McCarthy accused loudly and broadly. VENONA analyzed quietly and precisely. This difference mattered. The United States endured political chaos without descending into mass repression. No secret police, no disappearances. The system bent, argued, and strained, but it held. By the early 1950s, Soviet intelligence began to sense something was wrong. Communications grew shorter and more cautious. Eventually, encryption systems were replaced entirely. VENONA decrypt slowed and then largely stopped. The project had not failed. It had completed its mission. The United States now understood the scale, the methods, and the vulnerabilities of Soviet espionage. Yet VENONA itself remained classified. For decades, historians argued endlessly. Some dismissed Cold War espionage as hysteria. Others claimed it was worse than anyone admitted. Without evidence, the debate became ideological rather than factual. That changed in the 1990s after the collapse of the Soviet Union. The US government declassified the VENONA files. Thousands of pages of decrypted messages became public. Code names were matched to real people. Long-standing arguments could finally be tested against reality. VENONA confirmed that Soviet espionage had been far more extensive than skeptics believed, while also proving that some accusations had indeed been wrong. The truth was complex, uncomfortable, and deeply human. In the end, Project VENONA revealed more than spies. It revealed a difference between systems. The Soviet Union believed that controlling information meant controlling reality. The United States believed that understanding reality, even when painful, was the path to security. The American approach was slower, messier, and often frustrating, but it was built on institutions rather than fear. That difference proved decisive. The Cold War did not end because of a single leader or a single weapon. It ended because one system could adapt, and the other could not. Project VENONA was never meant to be remembered. That was its strength. It relied on patience, discipline, and trust in institutions rather than personalities. Decades later, it stands as one of the quiet reasons the United States emerged from the Cold War intact. Still arguing, still imperfect, but still free.